Hello, my name is Milan Sekulovic. I am the president of Sinjajevina initiative. We are NGO in Montenegro, and we are a group of people from local community of Mountain Sinjajevina in Montenegro, and also a group of other the citizens of Montenegro who appreciate and love this country and the nature. Maybe it's good for start to say something about us in general. Montenegro is by constitution an ecological state, but on the field, on a real situation, we have something very opposite. Through the past 35 years, we have a wild privatization of our industry and a wild privatization of our public wealth and nature. The previous government, which was led by Democratic Party of Socialists and their President Milo Đukanovic, destroyed the economy of the state, and on the end, when they spelled all the resources of industry, they start to selling the land. And our story begins on 2018, when we have a first unofficial information about military training ground on Mountain Sinjajevina. Mountain Sinjajevina is the biggest pasture in Montenegro, the biggest on the Balkan, and second biggest in the Europe. So we have a great potential for agriculture and also for rural tourism. In the previous millennia, we do agriculture. We have a very ecological friendly, let's say that, way of managing with resources. So we live with in harmony with nature, and we was very strict by the rules how to protect everything and how to protect the nature, because our land, our mountain Sinjajevina, was the main place for living. I'm from agricultural family. My parents are cattle breeders, and I am born and raised on Sinjajevina mountain. Now I'm a journalist also, but also I'm activist for protection of mountain Sinjajevina. Why we protect the Sinjajevina? The main reason is the decision of the government of Montenegro. They make an official decision on 2019 to pronounce Sinjajevina as a military training ground. And in the start they say that is just for military army, but for Montenegrin army. But we must say Montenegrin army have just 600 soldiers, and they take the biggest mountain in Montenegro. And from the start, when you see everything with logic, you see that is not for military of Montenegro, that is for NATO. But the previous minister from DPS, Predrag Bošković, was very, let's say, rude and proclaim that is just for military of Montenegro, and everybody who are against the military training ground on Sinjajevina is against the state. And they also trying to say we are, I don't know, pro-Russian, pro-Serbian, and pro-something, but we never say we are pro any military alliance. We are a civic organization, we are not a political organization. We are ecological movement, and our main goal is protect Mountain Sinjajevina. And we want our sustainable way of life to also to save the nature and save our mountain and our cantons. Cantons are basically small villages on the mountain, on 2020 we have elections, and after 3 decades of ruling, the past lose the elections. And in that time, when we wait for new government, new first democratic government in Montenegro on 2020, the Ministry of Defense tried to organize the military exercise on Sinjajevina. They used the situation because that was, let's say, technical mandate, and they don't have a right to do that in that time, but they still trying to organize a military exercise on Sinjajevina. And we, activists of Save Sinjajevina, local communities and people from the mountain, we organized big protest in October, November and December, and we was the human shield for 51 days on the mountain Sinjajevina, and we are still ready to die for our land and for our nature and for our mountain, because that mountain gave us a life, and now our obligation is to protect that mountain. And when the new government was established with new Prime Minister Zdravko Krivokapić, we cancel our protest because the new Minister of Defense say no. There will not be military activities on Sinjajevina. That was on 2020, and today we are in 2023, and we are still military training ground because the government doesn't keep the promise, and they doesn't cancel the decision of military training ground on Sinjajevina. So we're still fighting against that, and in meantime we change again government. You know, when democracy start, that is very alive process. So now we have a second government, and a new prime minister is from Green Party, it's Dritan Abazovic, and he was very supportive for us, and he gave us big support in the time when he was opposition politician. But today we still have a military training ground, and he is the prime minister for 1 year, and still we don't have a cancellation of military decision of military training ground on Sinjajevina. And yes, we have a problem on the start of this year. In February we have a 250 NATO and Montenegrin soldiers on Sinjajevina, and they have some exercise of rescue action. But we think that is just to try to mark the territory, and when they do some small exercise in the future, they will plan to have something bigger. And in February, when we have a snow around 3 or 5 meters, 5 meters on some places, we organize the protest still, and we go with the NATO army on the mountain, and we go in front of them. And one woman from our community, Gara Jovanovic, she sing for that soldiers, and she sing the songs about Sinjajevina and about our life and about our fight for Sinjajevina. And also we filmed everything of that, and we make a picture of the soldiers, and we follow them. And we must say that is not very legal, because it's forbidden to make photos of the army. But when they say, you know, it's not allowed to make photos of army. Can you please turn off your camera? I say, sorry guys, but I already asked you and the government and say, please don't send the military on Sinjajevina, and they didn't listen. So I must do my job, you do your job, and my job is to protect the mountain Sinjajevina, and we will keep fighting for Sinjajevina. And now in May we have a probably new threat it's not official, but maybe we're gonna have another attack on Sinjajevina, because in May the government of Montenegro announced, no, military of Montenegro announced new military exercise in Montenegro, but they didn't say that's going to be in Sinjajevina. That they say in surrounding area of two municipalities, that is Žabljak and Kolašin, and that is two cities of Sinjajevina also. So now we are also ready to fight again against any possible destruction of our mountain and our nature. And in that process we have a big support from our allies, that is Land Rights Now international organization, ICCA Consortium, and World Beyond War. And also we submit two petitions for protection of the Sinjajevina, one national and one global. And our main request is to cancel decision about military training ground on Sinjajevina and announce Sinjajevina as a regional park of the nature, because we have already a big study, very important documentation, which say Sinjajevina is a very precious area from ecological point of view, because we have a lot of species, herbal species, animal species on the mountain. And that is a very rich area and very important for whole Europe and the whole world. So in the time when we fight against climate change, we think is necessary to protect our way of life, because we live for millennia on a very eco-friendly way, because we don't have any kind of waste. For example, we use everything, and we don't produce the garbage, let's say that. And we are in a very friendly relation with nature also, because that ecological system of Sinjajevina we have thanks to cattle breeders, because when we have sheep and cows and horses and other animals, that is very good for ecological system. So we have a lot of herbal species thanks to activity of agriculture, and we think the Sinjajevina is the place for agriculture and for rural tourism, and we invite all the people from around the world to see what we have and what Montenegro have, what Europe have, and on the end what world have, because you know, maybe it's too expensive to go on the moon, but when you go on Sinjajevina you can see the surface of the moon, because surface of the Sinjajevina is very similar like surface of the moon. And we have also big grasslands, and we have peaks, and we have lakes, and we have a very friendly people who want just to be live on alone and on peace, because we don't want any kind of weapon in our mountain. We want to proceed to live very peacefully and in peace with nature and in peace with people. And we are not anti anything, and we don't follow as an organization any ideology. Our only ideology is ecological state of Montenegro and preserve Sinjajevina as a regional park of the nature. And thank you for your attention.